Welcome to Always Ageless, the show dedicated to empowering seniors and their families. We offer insights, discussions on aging, housing transitions, and essential resources, creating a supportive place for listeners and our viewers. Our compassionate approach helps demystify the aging process, ensuring that seniors and their families feel informed and connected. In addition, we feature inspiring stories of seniors who've navigated life's various challenges. Plus, we're fortunate to have as guests those who have accomplished some amazing things in the later years of their life. And we want to hear from you also. Please be sure to send us any questions or comments you have to our email and the information on you'll see on the screen below so that we can be sure to answer all of your questions for you. Today on Always Ageless, we are honored to have as our guest Teri P. Cox, MBA. We're going to ask her about her background. She has done so many amazing things. She's an author. We'll talk about her books. She's a in-demand speaker. She has a podcast. She has a background as a caregiver. Some of her life's journeys are going to touch us as she shares her stories. And we're going to hear about what took her from being a college student, even before that, to where she is now. So it's our pleasure at Always Ageless to welcome you, Teri Cox.
Thank you so much, Valerie. It's a pleasure to be here. And I know we have a lot of common ground because you've accomplished a lot too. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation and sharing back and forth how we've evolved through our life and how we can also inspire others to do the same.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the reasons for this show was that I wanted people more in our stage of life, referring to the book Stage Not Age, in our stage of life, to feel comfortable with their journey and with their stage in life and not to be referred to as old. So part of the goal of our program, Always Ageless, is to be always ageless at no matter what age we are. And when people ask us how old we are, it doesn't matter, really doesn't matter. So Teri, let's start with you. Tell us, when you think about the journey that led you to where you are, and especially connecting the golden dots, what's the first memory that comes to mind? And take us back to your early days. And I know you've been a caregiver and you have gone through some challenges with your husband's situation. So go back and tell us who you are and what brought you here.
Well, yeah, it has been a remarkable journey. And when I look back, I'm in awe. I've been so blessed with opportunities. But I also have been all about making a difference. And I think I started in high school. My mother gave me a mug with a quote, and I didn't bring that as a prop, but it was basically an inspiring quote about the definition of success, and it's really about if you make a difference and one life has breathed easier, then you've made a success out of your life. And I said I want to have a life like that. So that's really, and that stayed with me. Now, through college, I went to the University of Pittsburgh. I'm originally from Pittsburgh. Yes, I'm a Steelers fan, and
That's okay.
and an ardent fan. But anyway, I started as an English major. Now, I was in an accelerated program in the public school system in Pittsburgh, but had a private school education. And I started as an English major, wasn't enough. Took journalism courses, wasn't enough. Took speech and rhetoric, wasn't enough. I wanted a full communications degree, but Pitt was developing one, but didn't have the full program at that point. So I met with two professors who were my advisors. I said, what do I need in order to get a full communications degree? So they told me you need, well, media and some other courses. And I said, can I take them at a nearby university? And I was able to cross-register and get the rest of my courses from Carnegie Tech, which is now Carnegie Mellon, in the
Oh,
Oakland
right.
area of Pittsburgh.
Sure.
And I was one of the first people to graduate. And they said, what do you want to call your degree? I said, a BA in communications and speech. And so I'm one of the first communications degrees from the University of Pittsburgh. I minored in women's studies when it first
Oh,
started. And I had 4 part-time jobs to work at Pitt. One of them was at the Women's Center. This is before computers and Google and everything else. And I answered the phone 4 days a week. And women called with all kinds of crises. And I was
Mhm.
this, I had to get there. I created an information form, took all their information, then started making phone calls. I said, within 48 hours, I'll get back to you. If it was an emergency, I'd connect them with 911. I'd call the hospital. I was the front line. And so
Oh,
I tracked all of that for 6 months. And then I met with the head of the Women's Studies program and my executive director. And I said, and actually I learned how to meditate. And I said, well, how can we meet the need of these women, the needs of these women? And I meditated and I came up with a book. So I said, we need a resource directory for women. So I posed that. They loved it. We met with the Dean of College of Arts and Sciences. I did an independent study and I graduated. University of Pittsburgh hired me to create Help Yourself, a women's people's resource directory for Pittsburgh. And I handled all the PR. That launched my career. I got a side gig on a radio station and produced and hosted Impact, a public affairs talk show on my lunch hour.
oh,
I was hired as full-time PR director for United Mental Health, the Mental Health Association for Western Pennsylvania. And that started my career.
wow. What a
So
great story.
the
What a
cool
great
thing,
story.
the cool thing about that is I did the side gig, the radio show for 5 years. And you'll remember this, the odd and even gasoline days when we had to get in line to get our
I
gasoline.
do remember. I do.
Yeah, so Gulf Oil Corporation was headquartered in Pittsburgh, and I
Oh, they were.
contacted them. I had the guest on my show to talk about this issue, and I was prepared not to like him or trust him because at that point I said, no cigar chomping fat cat oil executive is going to pull the wool over my eyes.
Right. Absolutely.
And what happened was I wound up really liking him. Okay.
Oh,
And he was just couldn't have been more helpful. And he wanted me to actually was impressed because I did my homework. He interviewed all week and I did my homework. He wanted me to interview at Gulf Oil. I didn't want to work there, but I recruited him to chair my media committee at United Mental Health. And he was our board of directors. And became my mentor, my best friend. And several years later, he became my husband.
I knew you were going to say that. Oh my gosh.
Bill
What a
Cox
story.
was my
What?
husband for 28 years, but he was part of my life for 35 years.
Oh my gosh. What a story. An incredible story. We never know, do we, um, how things happening in life bring us together and take us in different paths. Um, that's a
You
great,
asked how it started. That's a good snippet of
that's an
how it all
amazing story.
began.
That's a great story. So, what does the title Connecting the Golden Dots mean to you?
Well,
How did
actually,
you come up with that, and what was the meaning of that?
that was one of those 3 o'clock in the morning ideas. Okay. And I have a notepad on my floor. I'm old school. So I just, anything comes up to mind, and it's always at 3 or 4 in the morning. I
Sure,
jot it down. So I actually had been working with Jack Canfield from Chicken Soup for the Soul fame. He
sure.
also wrote the Success Principles. And I was going to do a retreat with him, a weekend retreat for authors, and he was also going to interview me. So I actually had to write a real quick bio, just like I did for you, and to describe myself so that he can introduce me. And then I sent it to him in advance. And I included, I said, what is it about me that's different? How do I package myself? How can I say this in in 50
Good
words or
question.
less, right?
Yep,
And I
that's a
came up
great
with,
question.
I'm good at connecting the golden dots to better solutions. I'm always looking for a different way. I am. Okay. I think outside the box. I challenge the status quo. I'm creative. I'm also analytical. I'm strategic and tactical. So all of those things, what makes me unique? That's what came to me. So I sent him the bio. But then a couple of days went by and I hesitated. And I said, is that really accurate? I don't know. Maybe that comes on a little strong. So I sent him a revised one and I got rid of the wording.
Oh,
Then we had a chance before we went on air. This was a couple days later, when he has a TV show in California, and this was virtual. And I had a few minutes with him before we went on air. And he said, by the way, I kept your original bio because I really liked the phrase connecting the golden dots to better solutions, and I'm keeping it in there. Well, ever since then, I talked to him recently. He just turned 80, and thanked him for all the connections he's provided over the years and all the help. And I told him this story, and I said, not only did I keep it, but I put it on as my tagline, as my signature on my emails. It's on my business cards, and I I got some advice from him about I wanted to write a memoir. He said, I already know your story because I co-authored a book with him years earlier called The Recipe for Success. And he said, you have an amazing story. I had to send him the table of contents and a few chapters. You're a good writer, but it would be 400 pages. It would be too long. He said, then
That's
he
the question.
closes his eyes. He meditates and he goes, I'm not sleeping, I'm meditating. He goes, it would be like a big rich cake, but it's too much. And you're not going to get a publishing deal. It's just too much. I recommend cupcakes. And that's when I came up with the idea of a podcast. And then I'd also shared with him that the name of the podcast is Connecting the Golden Dots, the road to better solutions in your life. And what I mean is, people always talk about connecting the dots. There's a difference between just connecting the dots and connecting the golden dots or the better dots or the more efficient dots. So you don't spin your wheels. You get more directly to the solution you're looking for. That's what that's all about. And that's what I've been about and continue to be about.
That's amazing how that came to you, and obviously it is. I mean, I can see from what I know about your background, all the things you've accomplished, that and being a resource like you were initially is an amazing learning experience also, because it triggers things in your mind, right? Like, I see there's an issue here. I'm answering so many questions, and these people are all calling me, and they have nowhere else to go. And there's an issue here, right? There's a problem. There's a problem to be solved, right? And how can I be the agent for change? And that's really what you've done with your golden dots. Yeah, it's amazing.
My
And
entire life.
yeah, and look at what it's been. So tell us, I know that your story is deeply personal. Can you share a moment in your life that you believe changed everything? Was it your interview with Bill? Was it meeting Jack Canfield? Was it your mom, the cup your mom gave you? What was a moment that lit your path for your passion to help others?
Well, I think, when I look back and when I had to write the chapter for Jack, that's when I had to think about my recipe for success. And that's when I thought about, that I still have that mug. It's an Emerson quote. And that inspired me, but I won't say that was the major experience that was a turning point. I would say when Help Yourself came out and I started doing the publicity and I saw the impact it made. It was sold in all the bookstores. I was interviewed. I was one of the people that made the cover of Red Book magazine, Women Making It Happen in Pennsylvania. What it was I felt like, for all that I love to give and I love to solve and I love to help and I love to be a resource, but everything that you put out comes back to you. And it comes back, I feel like, tenfold. So it was feeding me. It was filling my cup while I was filling others people's cups. And then that was one major time period that changed my life. And then I would say the other one was meeting and working with Bill, my husband, because he really was. He was my cheerleader. He was my everything. He was my partner in my business, in everything, for so many years.
Yeah.
So
those are great. Thank you for sharing this. So you talk about embracing life and what it brings. So what does living fully really feel like, especially as we move into our later years?
Well, first of all, I want to say, and we've talked about this, and I mean, I am so aligned with this show and what your topics are, because
Uh,
age is just a number. It's mindset and maintaining a positive mindset that makes all of the difference. And even I want to say I've gone through dark times because, as I said, Bill was part of my life for 35 years and we were married for 28. I also saw his journey through prostate cancer, and I was his caregiver. I also was supportive caregiver for my parents, and I went through that journey. It was not easy. There was a dark period. But during that time and since then, and I talk about this a lot, no matter what your journey is and what you're going through, and I went through some real challenges even this year. With COVID, I got hit with that, and my cat was sick. I almost lost her. A lot of different things happened. I was in an auto accident with a deer in May, and all those different things. No matter what, positive mindset. If you can, even you know, we wait. I'll step back. We all go through these woe is me negative self-talk spirals. But
mhm.
how to get out of that? You just basically say to yourself, and I do it, and I've learned this. Kate Butler, who's one of my who published Women Who Dream, one of my books, and
Yes.
also is an international best-selling author herself. She talks about this, and I do this too. You say out loud. You say out loud, stop, and then immediately think about 5 things in your life that you're grateful for. An attitude of gratitude takes you a long way
It
throughout
does.
your life. And that's how you get into a positive mindset no matter what is happening. You realize that, okay, this is happening and it's a struggle and it's a challenge. And I have to tell you, when I lost my husband, who was my partner in all things, I went into this dark place. But then I went into meditation. And then I listened to my intuitive. That's another thing. Listen to your intuitive wisdom, because your intuition knows you better than you know yourself. Out the more external you versus what's in your heart and your soul. And I said, I meditated, and then I said, you'll find resources online. Just go and look. Jack Canfield was the first person I connected with, and I took a seminar, and he even asked, why did you sign up for it? And I told him. Now, I was also a leader. I'm strategic communications consultant, consulting in the life sciences industry. All the big pharma companies and everything were my clients for
Yes, I
years.
saw that. Uh-huh.
Clients for years. Um, but I also am the past president of the Healthcare Business Women's Association and helped turn it into a national organization. And now it's global in over 70 countries. All of that. But it was so much, and I felt like a weight. I mean, I was so used to being out there with Bill, the two of us. I had to go inward, and I had to get small for a while and focus on me and get into the root, into the heart and soul of who I am and who I want to be. I shared a little bit, a summary of that with Jack, and I've been working with him ever since. And that really, I would say, those are the pivotal moments where, I mean, I have to tell you, because I just had dinner with a very dear friend of mine who was my administrative assistant for 10 years. And we reconnected. And I said, remember what happened when I lost Bill for a little while? I said, the best of my life is over. I have nothing to look forward to.
I know.
I came this close to thinking about suicide, not out of depression, but out of reality. And then
Yeah.
I said, and then she talked with me. That's crazy. You have so much more life ahead of you.
I know. I know that people they see that in you when sometimes we don't see it in ourselves.
Exactly. And so I mean, I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but it all relates.
It does.
And then you get into, and that was it from then on. There wasn't any room for negativity. There was only room for growth and positivity and reconnection.
Well,
And
and certainly you've made yourself busy, that's for sure. So what do you think are some of the fears and the challenges that you think hold people back as they age? And how have you found ways, we just talked about a little bit, to move past them? But what do you think are the biggest fears and challenges?
well, and I still get them. We all do. We're human. We have a lot of self-doubt, no matter how successful you are. Excuse me, a little bit of asthma, so I'm hoarse sometimes. But you have self-doubt, or you have imposter syndrome where you think you're not good enough. You want to do something. I questioned if I could, at this stage of my life, do a podcast. And then I said, why can't I? Okay, why can't I? And then Jack Canfield connected me with two people who helped me go through Podcast Accelerator 8-week program. And I launched my first podcast earlier this year. So I looked for a solution and I got it. And I by saying I'm thinking about a podcast, that's what happens. If you don't ever give up, this is my mantra. What doesn't kill you transforms you. Never, no matter what's going on, never give up. And don't doubt yourself, because you're good and you have the gifts exactly as you are right now. All you're doing now, especially as seniors, we've had so much experience and wisdom and successes and learning experiences, and so much that we can share with others that are younger and that are not where we have been. And but we negate that. We tend to say, oh yeah, but that was then, like what I used to do, what I did before Bill passed away. But I'm still me.
You are.
And
You
I'm
are. And
and
all of
I
that you had before is still inside of you, waiting and needing a place and just to break out and be something else. This week I met Ted Neely, who
Mhm.
plays Jesus Christ Superstar,
Mhm.
and he's still doing his final tour. I don't know whether you're aware of that, but we had the opportunity to go see him here, and he's 81 now. I think he's 81 or 82. Looks like not, of course. And I asked him, so what's next? What are you going to do next? And he said, I'm just waiting for another opportunity, right?
Mhm.
And he'll go out and do something all over again at his age, some people would
Mhm.
say, right?
Mhm.
He's out promoting Jesus Christ Superstar, which is now what, 40-year-old, 50-year-old,
At
whatever it
least,
is,
yeah.
production.
Yeah.
And he's amazing. And he truly is always ageless, right? He's my definition of always ageless.
Mhm.
So I think, and I want to ask you about this. Don't you think that age is a culture, and I don't know that culture is the right word, because so I have a vacation rental company. People call and say, I want to have a vacation rental for my parents, but they're elderly. And so I want to make sure it doesn't have stairs or whatever. And I say to them, and I know what's coming, right? I say to them, oh, really? Well, how elderly are your parents? They say, oh, they're in their 60s. Oh, well, hey, that's really old, right? So we know, you know, and I know that people younger talk about age as being old. They define age, whatever their age is, as being old. So don't you think that that also rubs off on people our age who feel that I must be old because society says I am? They ask me my age, they treat me like I am, therefore I must be old.
Yeah, I do. I think that um, it's put on you. But again, it's mindset. It's definitely mindset. Okay. And I think I'm proud to be 72. Do I look it? No. Do I have the energy? I have the energy of everybody who meets me thinks I'm in my 50s. This
Yeah,
just
absolutely. Yeah,
happens
I would have guessed.
all the time. I belong to meetup groups. I go out dancing, and the younger women want to know what I'm taking. Where do you get your energy? I can dance the whole night.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm,
So,
I'm sure you
but
can.
and I belong to meetup groups, and it's a wide range from 40s to 70s. I'm on the higher end. I'm on the higher end. Okay. But I'm on the other end, and I'm middle to I'm more like in my 40s and 50s with my energy. It's also my mindset. I refuse to stop and get depressed. I want you to know something. Bill, in his last couple of months, he was in hospice. He had cancer. He said to me, he was 19 years older than I. And he said to me, don't you waste a minute. You have so much life to live. Promise me that you'll get out there and live your life. And I promised him. And then very soon after that, I mean, in a matter of months, I joined my first meetup group. It was called Coffee and Conversation in the Princeton area. And then I kept asking people, well, do you dance? Do you know about the bands? And I started asking and learning about other ones. But that's what started. He made me. He didn't want me to mourn him and be this mourning widow. He said, you've given me so much, but you have so much more life to live. And that really got me going too. That was my promise. But then I had to figure out how. And boy, once that took off, I'm going out dancing tonight.
How fun. How
Yeah, I
fun.
mean, I love it. I know all the bands. I'm on their email list. I know where they're playing. And I don't have to even connect now when I go out. I always run into people I know, whether it's I don't necessarily sign up for a formal meetup event. They're just there and I'll know them. I've been involved with meetups now. It's going on 13 years. So and that's really, and I have a whole circle of friends and things to do. And what I want to say is people make assumptions about had made assumptions about me when I share my age and they don't meet me, but when they meet me, I'm proud of how old I am, but I'm also proud of who I am, where my mind is. And by the way, I just had my physical and my doctor said I'm boring. There's nothing to treat. Okay, well, my parents had a lot of, there was a lot of illness. I don't have necessarily good genes, but I'm making the most of my genes and I'm making the most of my life. I'm not fighting aging because you can age with grace, but that's the key. Aging with grace. But if you enjoy doing things, keep doing them and connecting with people and getting out there, and the things you enjoy and give you joy, keep doing them. Do more of them.
And along with that is my question. So we know resilience is a very powerful word, and obviously you're a queen of that. You've been resilient over so many of your challenge. So how can others begin to cultivate that in their life, especially in the later stages of their life?
Yeah, and I also say the later stages in their life, that's when illness happens. That's when you lose loved ones. I mean, I have very little family left. But I think how you do it, how you maintain a positive attitude, an attitude of resilience, an attitude of being able to move forward is, again, number one, maintain an attitude of gratitude. And also stay connected, whether with family that is supportive or friends that are supportive. Build and maintain and expand your network, because that really gives you additional strength. You don't feel like I'm in this all alone. And when you feel that way, you can think about either emailing or texting or calling someone. They can be a neighbor. I befriend my neighbors. They check in on me. They forget their key. They buzz me. I buzz them. Same thing. Again, it's reciprocity. It's seeking help when we need it, and being a source of support and positive reinforcement for others. Because again, it's a win-win. The more you put out there this positive, I think that resilience comes from feeling strength within yourself and your ability to manage through all the changes, because all we can count on is change. Managing the changes, but also not giving up on the fact that you also have something to offer, and other people. Don't forget, I'm at fault here. I have a hard time asking for help, but I'm getting better at it.
Like you do have trouble because you're so self-sufficient and are determined to be strong in your own way, right?
And I have to be there for everyone else. But
absolutely.
But
and you are, obviously, yeah.
But as a caregiver, and you can relate to this, that's when I learned to ask for help, people would always say they would take me for granted as a caregiver, and they would say, "How's Bill doing?" They don't ask, "How are you doing? Is there anything we can do to support you?" Right?
Right.
The
Yeah,
caregiver gets the short shrift. So
absolutely.
I learned to ask for help, ask for support. It's not it's not a weakness. It's a strength. And it connect and people are happy to help. You're
Yeah.
giving them an opportunity to give out their expertise and their love and support. It's two-way, and when you think about win-win, think about win-win. It's not either or, come from a mindset, not only a positive mindset, but a mindset of abundance. Come from a
Right.
mindset of abundance,
Sure.
you know, and that's,
Of
yeah.
course. All right. So, um,
Does that help?
it does. Absolutely, it does. And we want people who are our listeners and our viewers to feel that being at a certain age certainly isn't the end of anything. My
It
mom's
can be the
105.
beginning.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. My mom's 105. Ted Neely is out, promoting
Bless her
Jesus
heart.
Christ Superstar 50 years after it was on Broadway. So, obviously, there's lots of opportunities. So when someone feels stuck in midlife, just get out there and just get involved somehow, is what you're suggesting.
If they're stuck, here's something that I recommend. And I just starting a mastermind group for
Yes, you
women.
are.
And it's live. So it's not available to everyone. It's not virtual. It's live and on and it's in central New Jersey. So I'm focusing on midlife women from anywhere from their from late 40s to 70s in central Pennsylvania and Bucks County, central New Jersey and Bucks County, Pennsylvania, because that area is close. We're just
Mhm.
across the river, and no more than 12. But I'm doing this. It's a spin-off from the Women Who Dream book the chapter that I wrote in there, in honor of my turning 70 a couple of years ago, and sharing some of my lessons and hard learned lessons too, about change, because I'm a change agent who resisted change. So I
Yes.
had to learn how to embrace change. That's
Right.
number one. But I created this mastermind group after I've been helping on an informal basis women who are stuck, or they're saying, "Teri, you've worked full time for companies and you also have been a consultant. I want to be a consultant, but how do you make that shift?" And I made it early on, fortunately.
Yes.
When I was after I was while I was getting my MBA at NYU, and I did a paid summer internship at Pfizer. That's when I knew, because I had already done consulting and I already had been an employee. I said I prefer to be a consultant. But when you're stuck, first of all, what you have to do, and I cover this in the Recipe for Success book, my chapter with Jack. Um, Focus on and zero in on your strengths. Make a list of your strengths, what you like to put out there, what you like to give. Okay. And then think about what makes you different, what makes you better. What are your
Sure.
what's your unique selling proposition?
Proposition. Of course. Yes.
Just like a product, you are a product.
Yeah.
Okay. Begin to think, instead of being stuck saying, "Okay, I'm here where I am, but I know I want to make a change. I want to move forward." Begin to focus on yourself like I did. I'm now rebranding and I'm going to Teri P. Cox MBA and have a new website, when I was the president and still am of
I
Cox
get it.
Communications Partners LLC.
Right.
So I
I
had to
get it.
shift gears because I wanted to also
Do something else.
rebrand and reposition myself. So and it's never too late, because I
No.
just started this in the last couple of years. So what you do is, first of all, focus on your strengths and what you enjoy delivering in your career and in your life, and focus on how you can look at the different ways you can continue to deliver those services and those strengths to others, and maybe create an online product, maybe create a website, maybe create a consulting practice, maybe a part-time side gig maybe you want to publish a book and
Sure.
share whatever it is. I mean, I know someone who's just starting out and she's in her 60s and she wants to do stand-up comedy.
Oh my gosh.
And
We,
so she,
we
yeah,
yeah, we interviewed a lady several months ago, a few months ago, is in Florida who writes plays and she's 78. And she started writing when she was, I think, in her early 70s and does an amazing job. So I heard a quote several years ago and it really sticks with me. And people say, you know, what drives you? For me, the quote that I heard was that you shouldn't die with the music left inside.
oh wow.
And I think that's what you're saying is that, and I think it's so important for people to realize that there is no age. Age is meaningless. If you have music inside of you from whatever you did, and no, maybe people don't care what you and I did 30 years ago, but something we did then taught us something or sparked some fire in you where you then decided to solve a problem for women because you were answering their calls. And your work in the healthcare industry where you then started a women in healthcare business
Healthcare Business Women's
organization.
Association.
Right.
It was regional for 25 years, but I had the vision to make it a national organization and
Absolutely.
created the first 3 chapters, and then it took off from there.
Right. So
Yeah.
so you still have fire and music inside, and it's important that you keep bringing that out. And I think that's what hopefully what we can bring to people from reminding them that they can be always ageless. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about you contributed to the book Women Who Dream.
Mhm.
So tell us about that book. What was the heart of your message and what do you want to share with other people, both men and women?
Yeah, and this is and Women Who Dream, actually it's available, and I if there it is.
Yes.
You can see it.
Yes.
And it's, yeah, and I was one of
On
the
Amazon, isn't it? On
it's
Amazon?
Amazon, and they also I can they can purchase, and I can sign and send a signed copy, and I don't just sign my name. I actually write a message that's pertinent to them, and they can reach me on my website at teripcoxmba.com, and it's TERIP as in Peter Cox COXMBA.com. And it includes information about the books. It includes information also about my mastermind, and other things that I'm doing. But
Maybe
what
people
I would,
could still get those for Christmas presents.
yeah, absolutely, they make great gifts, and and actually someone just reached out to me about that. And what I want to say about my chapter, when I looked back on it, I was saying, first of all, I'm full of gratitude. I was reflecting on my decades because I was celebrating my 70th birthday, the beginning of my eighth decade. And I was looking and saying, wow, first of all, the time went back much faster than I thought it would. But I look back and I say, what is it? All the things, all the blessings, all the people, all the love, all the experiences. But the critical golden nuggets of thinking through what I could share, and I called it, it's called self-designed dreams, because I've had a
Yes.
self-designed life. Um, it's about change, and I've talked a little bit about that. Is all the lessons I've learned about change. There are two kinds: the kind you want and you
Mm,
initiate and you take action on, and the kinds of changes that happen
yeah.
and you don't want them, but they happen to you. And it's never one isolated thing. It's always, I call it a personal tsunami of one wave. And then I had that happen this from May until August. I had that happen this year.
Oh,
So you have to be resilient, and you have to go with it and say, okay, this is happening. How can I deal with that? How can I connect the dots, the golden dots, to solutions for that situation? But what I learned is about change, and I had to deal with changes in my family life because I had a grandmother, ultra Orthodox woman who from Hungary, who was very bitter because she lost most of her family during the war and lived with us. Felt cursed because she had 5 daughters and no sons. Treated
oh,
all of her daughters the same way, and she was very emotionally abusive to me in height, and she was critical all the time. It affected my self-esteem even though I was a good student. So I actually had to put my foot down. She was horribly rude to 2 of my friends that came to the house. And I even explained to them, I said, she's crazy, we'll go right upstairs or whatever. But the fact is, it stayed with me, and I hurt my friend, and she hurt my friends with no cause. I met with my parents and I said, enough is enough. Either she goes or I go. And they moved her out into an apartment. Um, and we took over the whole house. We had a 3-story house. We lived on the top 2 stories. But that was a change I initiated, and I was terrified.
I'm
We
sure you
weren't
were.
used to challenging mama. Okay,
No,
but that's the thing is, if you're being abused, you have to act on it. But in any case, change. I learned a really powerful and positive message about initiating change that I wanted, and it happened. If I did, and I even wrote in the chapter, what would have happened if I hadn't done anything, if I hadn't said anything?
right.
And it affected me. So I learned all the lessons about the changes you want to take and the kinds of initiative you should take to follow your dreams and follow your goals and never give up and be proud of who you are, exactly where you are, and recognize you have a lot to give going forward, and then build on that foundation and take it to the next level. Okay. But then with those kinds of changes that hit us all, whether it's loss, whether it's illness, whether you have an accident and you hit a deer, whatever it is, step back and say, okay, I can't, it's not business and life as usual. I can't
No.
keep doing what my routine. All right, I had these meetings, cancel the meetings and focus on priorities that address that particular change. I hit the deer. I actually was fortunate enough, my car wasn't totaled and I wasn't hurt. I was very lucky. I was
Yes.
able to drive my car home. I immediately called State Farm, left a message. By the next day, I was connected with the collision center. I was connected with the car rental right next door. But I'm saying it right away. This was a night event. I was on my way to the Hyatt to a comedy show, Catch a Rising Star, and bam, there it was. This big buck ran right in front of me. So,
Aw,
but the fact is, my car was fixed. It's like new. I'm like new because I mean I was fearful. I was a nervous wreck, but the first thing I did was leave a message at State Farm. The first thing, it was late at night. They called me first thing in the morning. I'm saying, take action, think about and focus on
right.
how can I don't want to say woe is me and have anxiety and just
No.
keep having anxiety and going to bed.
Right.
That's
Right. But
not the
take some
answer. The answer
action.
is to take
Right.
action.
Right. Take some action so you can move it to the next step. Right. Get it
Absolutely.
off, take it off of this thing and put it in a box on the shelf for the night so that you can put it asleep. You know, you put something in that box that needed to be worked on and put it away. I can understand that. If you could sit down with your younger self,
Oh, I love this question.
oh, do you? What is the one thing you would tell her, or the 2 things you would tell her?
My younger self, and I'm going to get weepy, my younger self struggled with self-esteem for most of my, I mean, and even for today's show, I was nervous and I've been doing this, but when I'm saying, Bill picked up on this. And I'm just bringing this up because it relates. And when he was my mentor and he was on the board of United Mental Health, and we worked on the media committee, and he said to me, he said, you don't know how good you are. You don't know how other people see you. You have, and I told him about my grandmother and what I did, and he said, I'm proud of you that you took action. That was wonderful because you knew now you don't not you made a major change in your family life, and that's positive. But because of it, you have a cracked mirror. You don't
Oh,
have a clear you can't see yourself, and you have this negative to this day. I put that in my chapter. I hear that negative message and it shows up, and I have to discourage it. But I want to say to my younger self, I would say, you have no idea how good you are. Be proud of who you are. You are going to have one remarkable life, and you're going to continue to make one heck of a difference. And my projects have made a difference for millions of lives.
They have, yes.
And I'm so proud of that. But that's what I would tell my younger self is don't doubt yourself.
Do you think when you were younger that you number one even thought of, or number two, knew that you could accomplish the things that you have?
No. But what I do want to say is I look at my college experience, which was a wonderful foundation, and it also gave me an entrepreneurial impetus
Sure.
to move forward. And I recognize that's really what I liked: solving problems, connecting the golden dots, taking on projects that make a difference. Okay. But what I want to say is that I had it within me all along.
You did.
And in college, and that's what I wrote about in the recipe, my recipe for success, that I was strategic and analytical, good in math, good in writing, good in, and a creative. I'm creative and analytical. I'm strategic and tactical. I was all of those things and didn't know how unique that package is.
No,
I took it all for granted
no.
and just started working it at Pitt, at University of Pittsburgh, and didn't even think about it until I wrote this chapter for Jack Canfield in The Recipe for Success.
And wouldn't it be great if we could take, you and I and people like us, take people our age or older and help them develop something in their life as though they were our earlier selves, right? People who have desires or dreams, or I wish I could, but I can't because I'm too old. Or I read somewhere you said that people often say, well, I can't do this until I retire, or I'll do that when I retire.
All these excuses, right?
All these excuses. And if we could help them become always ageless, because certainly we know that it's possible.
I totally agree. And I
We know
think
that.
also continuing new projects and learning new things keeps your mind going, keeps you motivated, and gives you energy and positivity and keeps you young.
Absolutely. And there are so many new things that have come available for older people and opportunities to connect. There's a program called On Screen, and that's not the only one, where you can connect with people all around the world on Zoom calls. They're live Zoom calls, and you can connect with a gardening club in Holland, or you can connect with a wine club in Italy or whatever, and right from your living room. So you have opportunities to be exposed to the world that we didn't have. If you can't go on your own, you're not able to travel or whatever, you still can be connected. And I think that what that's going to do for older people is pretty amazing, to give them opportunities. And also, then there are cruises for older people who are less capable. There's cruises for people with dementia now that they're able to go and be on a cruise ship, even though they have dementia. So there's so many things as our population grows, and people like you and I who become a little bit older, although we're not old, of course, who become a little bit older and still
We're
want to live
seasoned. We're more
we're
seasoned.
seasoned and we want to live a full life. There's going to be so many opportunities. So we have just a few minutes. If you have one wish for everyone listening today or viewing, because we'll be able to have this, they can view or listen to our show, what would that be? And especially at Christmas time now,
Oh,
for
wow.
those who listen to us later, we're 2 weeks from Christmas, 2 weeks and a few days from Christmas. What would your wish be if you could have one for everyone who's listening to us?
Oh, well, I mean, and I'm not crying. This is my allergies and asthma kicking in. But it is an emotional time for many people this time of year. What I wish for everyone is to embrace everything about their lives and embrace change, embrace the season, um, embrace change and welcome it, embrace new opportunities, and keep moving forward to manifest your dreams. That's what I wish. I hope nobody here listening, watching, goes to the other end of their life with regrets that they didn't act or they didn't live their dreams. Live your dreams while you're alive and while you can, and while you can express the joy of doing it and accomplishing it, and the joy of sharing with others and making a positive impact on the lives of others. Keep doing it. Make sure you do it. You owe it to yourself to do it.
And you owe it to others.
And that was
Because
exactly.
others want to hear the music that's inside of you. Teri, we have about 1.5 minutes before we leave. Please tell our audience where they can find you, how they can find your books, how they can connect with you and your podcast. So share that information before we go today.
Okay. My website, and it's still in progress, but it's Teri P Cox MBA.com, and a lot of the information is there. They can also connect with me. I'm Teri P Cox MBA on LinkedIn, and I'm Teri P Cox MBA on Facebook and on Instagram. So that is, and it's TERI, 1R. There are 16 Teri Coxes that spell their name the same way. So I had to differentiate, and Teri P. Cox MBA does the job.
Does the job. Good
So
for you.
that's how they can reach me. I'd love to hear from everybody. My podcast is Connecting the Golden Dots, the Road to Better Solutions in Your Life. Now, if you're hearing this, I know that you're on the West Coast, but people will hear from all around, all over. But if anyone is in Central Jersey or Bucks County, Pennsylvania, I'd love to hear from you about joining my mastermind group called Design Your Dreams Mastermind for Midlife Women who want to clarify and manifest their dreams and goals for the future.
Right. Yep. Well, I have a friend in Florida who's might be moving to New Jersey, so I'll tell her. I'll be sure to connect you. Thank you very, very much. It has been our privilege, and I know that our audience and our viewers are going to benefit a lot from the things that you shared with us today. And we want to remind everyone to please come back again next Monday at 3 p.m. for another episode of Always Ageless. Send us your questions and your comments. We will respond to everyone, and the information where they can find us is going to be at the bottom of our screen. Thank you, Teri Cox. It's been a pleasure and honor. Have a Merry Christmas. It's the time of year for people who listen later. We're going to have Christmas pretty soon here. And thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and a happy and healthy, joyful, safe, and prosperous 2025.
2025. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.